Welcome to Small Talk by Sfarim Chatter. I'm Nachi Weinstein. On this episode of Small Talk, I'm going to be joined by Rabbi Amrom Gottesman, who is the author of a book about his father, which is Rabbi Aryeh Leibush Gottesman, and with the subtitle "The Life Story and Torah Gestalt of Rabbi Aryeh Leibush Gottesman Zatzal, Neicher Rish Hakoil, star pupil of Hagoyin Atzadik of Michal Ber Weisman Zatzal." And this book was written by Rabbi Amrom originally in Yiddish, and now we'll be discussing really both, but notably the English translation, which is newer, which came out recently, translation to English. So thank you, Rabbi Amrom, for joining me.
Thank you, Mr. Weinstein, for having me as a guest. About this book, originally did it in Yiddish, which was called the Aryeh, and basically a full biography of my father's life. And Baruch Hashem, I had a great siyata d'shmaya to really gather information from his pre-war years as a small child, how he lived through in the anti-Semitic environment through Czechoslovakia, later become Hungary. I lived through that in his pre-yeshiva years before the World War, before his family was taken to Auschwitz at all, and then throughout very detailed history throughout the Holocaust. He was only 16. His whole family was perished in Auschwitz. He was transferred to Dachau. He went through a lot, miracles, only miracles, and it ends up that a miracle story really continued through his whole life. After he was 16, basically one person alone, one brother, which survived, another brother. But he was 16 and he started rebuilding by 16. After the war, he went to the yeshiva. I went to the yeshiva of in Cedar Hill, back to his hometown. He went to yeshiva back to his hometown where Moshe Naishus was the Rosh Yeshiva. With him, he came out with the Moshe Naishus Yeshiva, came out to America. Moshe Naishus wasn't able to really keep up the yeshiva, so he went into Nitra. At that time, Nitra opened Mankisko to the Michal Ber Weisman. My father realized that he lost his best Bucherische Juren. He was only 16, like 2 years of his Bucherische Juren was gone. He really tried to make it up, so he took upon himself. He got married a little bit late. My mother's 10 years younger, so that's why so it was really 10 years learning 18 hours, literally, besides davening, eating, and sleeping. So the rest of the 6 hours he did and became very close to the Michal Ber Weisman, to Rabbi Michal Ber Weisman. The Michal Ber Weisman took him for reasons on certain what was going on at that time. He wanted to make the Aryeh with Satmar Rebbe. He wanted to make about this, the Zman for Shabbos with the everything, the Shkia. So everything, Mikvuas, he learned with my father. He realized who my father is, and my father really got really deeply connected to the Michal Ber, which this was his living, breathing through his whole life. Every word that the Michal Ber told him, he used these words throughout his life. He became living and breathing with the Michal Ber. After then he got married before the chasna. Nobody had to work to pay for his chasna. He took a job as a diamond cutter. Even though he took a job, he was really striving for Torah, and even when he was working, he was learning 12 hours a night. My mother used to tell me that it used to be from Shabbos to Shabbos that he didn't go to bed. That's what he did for 20 years. 20 years. By the time he was ready to marry off his children, he never made a big panusa. He was able to make more, but he was afraid because it's gonna disturb him from learning. So after 20 years, by the time he had to marry off the children, he decided he had opportunity. He decided that he's going to devote his whole life into Torah, while he was working, and then afterwards, he was giving shirim for Balabatam, daily shirim, 7 days a week, even though he was working real deep shirim for Balabatam. And of course, they called them out to the night yeshiva. At that time, the night yeshiva was built, and they called them up. They called him out, and he was doing like a kind of unofficial Moira Erua, because there was the roof over there, but he was the unofficial Moira Erua. He really passed functions of a dime. But, of course, he was so humble. Nobody knew that he learned, that he was learning and studying 10 hours a night. Everybody had a smile to every child, and every day would come in the morning and she'll, oh, good morning, Rabbi Leibush. That's around. They didn't know that you're talking over here from the to a person that was ready, being up all night and learning. And he never boasted about it, never boasted about his learning. Nobody knew what he did. He became famous as a big Talmud Chacham already, really right after the war, because there was nobody around over here, especially, from the Guernsey descent. No, there was nobody around. He became known from the first known Talmidei Chacham, the first generation after the war. The Satmar Rebbe came to the Naitri Yeshiva, and Ramachaber was really boasting about. He said that he has a Talmud. He has a Talmud Leibush Gottesman, and I would say that he knows half Shas. And the Satmar Rebbe was, what? After the war, there's nobody around. Half Shas? And so Ramachaber pulled back of his words and said, I would say maybe not half Shas, but I would say the three Buvas and Yevomas and Kasidas, but this he knows with all the Rishonim and the Gdoil Achron. So Satmarov said, if he knows that, then he knows the whole Shas. So he became known, and of course the Hungarian Rebunum, which was in Williamsburg, got to know him because they knew he asked them Shalas, and they saw who he is, so became a kid to the Puperuf, the Satmar Rebbe. There was the Stropkava Rabbi, he became a kid. So, and that's how he continued the life. Once he started to learn, sit down to learn, it was like as it's written by Yankov Avinu. And every time I saw it, that since he undertook this kind of lifestyle, since he undertook this man was sent into another Nisoin that should disturb him from learning. At one point, I don't want to go into details, family issues, a major issue. And then he goes to the Gemara and says, Tati, how could he do this? I could only do it because only these keeps me on. If not, I wouldn't be able to do it. That's how he went on his life. Young age, by 59, he had a massive heart attack, but he was able to go on. Came back, but he had to slow down of the activities like being up all night, a little bit more. He was very into Nishmartimas Nafshasaychim and everything he was watching. Then, when he was like 61 in 2020, he developed a major stroke. And that was so painful to watch. His brain, his mind, he lost his brain and mind about like 70%. He lost. And he wasn't able to get himself. I remember he came home from the hospital or convalescent. Our house was full of swura. He went in front of the bookcase of the Surim Shank. And he looked at everything. Every cipher had his haguas. And he made with a hand, or like, this is everything I accomplished. And this is what I lost. He had to really start from scratch. That scene that I saw over there when he was making the hand in front of the Suram Shank, he wasn't able to talk, that the ability to speak because of the stroke. It looked like now it's a Pasuk time, now it's in the, we are a few days before Tisha B'Av. It looked like to me that it sounds like Yermi and Uvi just standing in front of the Beis Hamikdash after it got destroyed, after it got all the Chorban, and say, this is what happened. This is the scene that I had over there from my father. And he was struggling. He was trying to strengthen himself. And I tried to comfort him, and I says, Tati, there's plenty Gedolim. There's Gedolim that had strokes. And in our time, it was the Satmar Rebbe that he had a big stroke. So we are more in the Hasidic environment. I told him, this happened, but he wasn't the same after the stroke than before the stroke. He, I guess he spoke to the kasher roof before that. He was close to the kasher roof, and kasher was very early. He says, yes, the Satmar roof and the kasher roof. When they weren't able to learn, they were able to think of Shavisa Hashem Lanekbisum. But I'm not a Demadriga to think that I could be, that I could have Shavisa Hashem, and that I should be without Torah, nothing. So that shows how the Torah was his life. And he struggled. He struggled, came back, came back. He made a siyum. He told me he was a Bechor. He made every other Pesach a siyum since his 11, just beside the 2 years when he was in the lag. And he continued to make, after the stroke, the siyum. It came back. He really came back. But at that time, I was seeing that was like his last Nasoin. And he buys to that Nasoin. He buys to that Nasoin. And at that time, he really started growing. He really started growing, you know, to a higher level. We were able to see the fish. His whole at that time, he was really living on Nissim. The doctor said, they brought him the files. He went to the doctor. He lived in Mount Kisco. Now he had to move closer to the children in Brooklyn. They brought him the files. The doctor says, what do I do with such a person? I don't know how such a person lives. All the doctors were saying that he's living on Nissim. And it was a half year after the stroke. I happened to make that day chasana one of my sons. And before the chasana, he was rushed into the hospital. Oh, yeah. Everybody, they should go to the house and be mismay, don't be by me. Next day, I went to the hospital. He was still under influence of anesthesia. And he had difficult speaking because of the stroke, but he went on and on like hallucinating about everything was that was the Minna Betuchem from Chazon Ish. Chazon Ish had a special sefer, Minna Betuchem from Chazon Ish. And says, I never knew. And I guess that was before he went into the operating room, that he was thinking of the minute, the tuchna, or whatever. But it's amazing. It's amazing. I didn't know that when I wrote my first book. But when I came to my second book, I found a diary after the stroke. It says, I gave so much shidduch I gave. But it was almost a month-to-month basis. Habe ich gemacht das Siyum auf Choyves Halus. That means he was working on himself, on his betuchen and a minna and a betuchen and the strength. As weak as his heart was, as weak as his mind was because of the stroke, he was a real fragile man, as really weak. But his heart and mind was a pressure cooker for Avodas Hashem. I only think of it. How could a person really come to such a madrigal? A few weeks before he passed away, maybe a few months, he calls me up. I call him. I don't remember how it was. Says I just came from the doctor. The doctor said that I had a dormant infection in my lungs, that it was resting in me since the World War, because he was really dying. He really was really dying, and he had a strong ammonia, and there was a dormant infection laying for there. And I didn't even grasp what it means. So I was saying, I don't recall if I asked him, but I think I asked him, do you know about it? Yeah, I said no all my life, but it was dormant. He didn't make. I didn't think that he was even living his life from this. Then, after he passed away, I asked over there was the Ruf Neitere in Williamsburg, Rabbi Moskowitz, real tzaddik. And I asked his son, he wasn't alive anymore. I asked his son, what did your father really speak about my father? He spoke very highly of his, how his stomach and what it is. But it says that my father told me that my father was asking the Machaber Weissman. asking Ramachaber Weissman, what should I do? He had some kind of a sickness. That's what the Bitzlik Moshkowitz told for his son, that the Leibush Gottesman had some kind of a sickness, and he asked the Ramachaber Weissman, what should I do if I really get attacked from that? What will be with my children? The Ramachaber answered him a question. He says, you should know there's Shloishu Shitfan Be'udam. There's the father, the mother, and the Rebbeinu Shalom. When you get this attack, you just say Vidi. You just say Vidi, and the rest is the Rebbeinu Shalom. The other two will take care. Other two shit. Then I started to realize what this dormant meant. So the Mechaber was not living. Mechaber passed away a year after my father got married. So that means he knew already when he was a bocher that he has this dormant, and then it could activate any time in life. So I see that really he defied medicine all his life. It's everything because the Torah, Ina, and Matzlah, you can't explain it different. Of course, it didn't start by him. He had his parents. I could go on from his parents, who his parents was. He always spoke highly about his father, mother. It was tough. So that his father was always roideft because he wasn't Hungarian citizen. And that part where he lived, it was Czechoslovakia, Hungarian. So the Hungarian youths always, tried to make problems. But one thing, his mother, his when they rounded up all the people to the cattle, to the cattle trains to en route to Auschwitz. All these Gentile women came and said, they called her because my grandfather was the Shoifet, so they called her Shoifet Nani. So it says, Nani, yes, such beautiful children. Leave them all with me. You see where you're going. They're going to be killed. Leave them over with me. Everybody did. That's how a lot of people got survived the war. They were by going. Leave it by me. She said, Hashem gave me this children. If I can't raise them the way He wants it, He wants me to raise, then I'm willing to give them back to Hashem. It's like really bringing the children into Al-Qaeda, to the Al-Qaeda. And that came through. Listen, he was already on a death truck in World War II. He went for Auschwitz. Usually, it was a miracle that everybody went to the left side because the mothers and the whole family went to the left side to be in the crematorium. He was sent to the right only because he was tall. He was tall and had a few coats. His mother prepared a little bit, so he looked 18. So they sent him to the right, where they sent him to Germany for workforce in Germany. He came in over there. He collapsed. They put him on a dead truck, with another dead person, and somebody was conditioned. Supposedly, they took him to a clinic, but it meant that they were taking him to the crematorium in Dachau. He was already dead. He fell asleep, dreamt about his mother. His mother, Suda was his name, reciting Tillam. He woke up again, reciting Tillam again and again. All of a sudden, he ended up in a hospital. How? I don't know. If it was a dream or not, I don't know. He ended up over there in the hospital, and there was a doctor, a Hung doctor. His name was Dr. Drustian. It was a Harlem doctor. Asked him, what do you do over here? He says, Bin Ayuda, I'm a Jew. So he says, don't worry, I'll take care. My father had papers which the Nazis gave him. Everybody was well documented, and he was listed as a J, means as a Juda. This doctor went and changed the J to a S, which was true. He was Slovakian, and Then he took him under his custody, took care of him. Years later, my father felt an obligation to thank him, to thank him. He looked over the phone book in Holland. He found him, the name, address. He went to visit him to thank him that he rescued his life. He rescued his life. Looked exact the same. He looked exact the same as he was there. There's no, it was him. This man didn't know, this doctor didn't know me. I was never in Dachau. I was never there. So he's the Nisume went through by his mother reciting the Tehillim. I don't know if he was in a hospital or not, but he should. Maybe the whole doctor was a dream. My father always spoke about it, but it stopped. He never said the second half of the story. Never. He said that he dreamed about his mother. I looked at the files. I went to, when I started writing the book, I needed to know a little bit more about the war, and I started to write a book. And I went to the Clem conference in Germany to request his files with his personal handwriting. He wrote it already done a little bit of Yiddish also, but with his personal handwriting. And he says the story over there of this Dr. Jerusalem, and over there he says, over there I had a miracle. He didn't go further. I came to believe that my father really, really saw that this was the Malach Raful. This was not a person. Dr. Jerusalem was really an angel. Then later on came somebody else who he fell against. He became a Muslim man. Somebody else helped him just because that person was 50 years old. Darshvis was amazed how he was really with his beshef and with his. That's how and why my father claimed that he raised. He said that I'll carry on my shoulders. I'll put the bread. My father always said his name is Mr. Mr. Springer rescued my life. Was Mr. Springer wrote a memoir right after the war. It was said that my father really says the time where they were really in the darkest of the darkest. My father says one day will come the time that we'll be able to tell the world how we came out of the darkness over here. And I see the with coming out with this book, with having this book, I think now is the time, like 80 years later, that where my father said that we're coming, we will be able to tell the world how we came out of this darkness. So that's basically what the Bible does.
It's a big book. I'll add it's 650 pages and you included many documents, pictures, family pictures, photographs. There's just a lot of information in here. It's one of those style books for those that know these type of, you put in a lot of work and effort. It's very clear. And I have, looking at the English one, not the Yiddish one, you have it in Yiddish also. Now you put it out in English. And so there's a lot in there about, and as you kind of alluded to a little bit, but there's obviously more we don't have the time to go into. You talk about your father's family, your mother's family, who they stammed from. You really go through a lot of that as well. So who would you say the book is for?
The book, when I started Yiddish, I really meant it. Of course, family. It really started. It was really the second year of my father. Second year of my father, and they say man made a cedar, a yurtzat cedar. It was basically men, grandchildren. We had about 60, 70, and I spoke. And they said, I want more. I want more. We never knew about this father, about your father. This. And we never knew he's a big tamakuchen, but we need more. So I decided I had to do this for the family. And of course, he was very well known in the Christ, the Hasidische Christ, more Neitere, Satmer. It was so a lot of Neitere Talmidim. So I figured, let me make the Yiddish book for them. The book really, it sold out in a year. It sold out, sold like 1,200 pieces a year. It was a really solid book. The reaction that I got from all Rabbonim, they called me up. It's not a book. It's a Missa Cipher. It's obligates everybody says it's obligation. I had my editor that wrote it. He says to me, he's a big Satmar Chusuk. And he said to me, if I read a book from the Satmar Rebbe or the Tasha Rebbe or anything, okay, that was them. They were born like that. That was them. But over here, my father wasn't. He wasn't a Rebbeinish personality. He was considered a babus, as I told you, he was working 20 years, considered a babus, and if he could make it, it really obligates everybody. That was the message. But then there was a silent message, which I heard from a lot of people. Even somebody came crying. We need more books like this, how the generation that survived that the Holocaust rebuilt. Really, that was a silent cry that I heard from people, a lot of people. That's where I decided, listen, maybe I have to do it in English. Go out a little bit of the Hasidische Bachs, the night the Talmidim, because this is really not. It doesn't promote any Hasidus. It promotes Torah and Minna. But the main thing, I tried it on Amazon with reviews. I saw all the reviews, the secular people. Everything came in, the resilience, not to succumb, they really rebuilt. I wrote it over here in the forward to the Sagdoma, and I wrote it over here that I heard the Jewish of my father. He was really speaking about the Mechaber on this, that there's a medrash. The medrash says that Noach was living in a time the Vinyuna when everything was built, and then the Chabuna became the model, everything was a carbon, and then the Vinyuna when it was rebuilt. My father asked, what does the Medrash want to say with that? What does the Medrash want to really say? He spoke about it, about Ramachaber, but then he emotionally, it usually wasn't my father's style of speaking to, because he wasn't the roof to bring out a statement, miss a statement. He went with his higher tones emotionally. He said, to rebuild if something was that is impossible, and I went through it and I know what it is. Why should you rebuild when it gets destroyed? He was really emotional about it. And this is the message. This is the message. We live now in a time everybody has their ups and downs. There is plenty, you know, shidduchim crises, plenty divorce crises, going off the derech, tsar gedelbunim, everybody, and they're really looking for something, a little bit physical, how to rebuild. So the more you read stories, such kind of stories, this is the story. My mother, Loira Fyoman, she's close to 90. My father was sick. She's 10 years younger from my father. My father was sick, she wasn't even 50 years when my father became sick. And she lost her, she was 6 years old. She lost her parents. She also made through the Holocaust. This book has her Holocaust story also. This book has like 45% of Holocaust. Now, now the women in her age whom she lived in Mount Kisco, they would call her, oh, my husband is this, no husband. Now everybody gets to the old age. How do I deal with it? And my mother just tells them, listen, you have to know that you cannot control everything. The Rebbeinu Shalom controls it, and the Rebbeinu Shalom knows what he is doing. If you're going to have this mind, I think in your mind, that the Rebbeinu Shalom takes care of it, and that's what it's meant to be, 50% of your worries go away. Because that's what it is. It's not that you buy, I'm going to go to the supermarket, buy 2 pounds of patuchen, 2 pounds of smoothie. It doesn't go this way. But, just leave it to it. There is so many problems around going on. Everybody needs chizik. This book is for historians who wants to know about Holocaust. This book is for historians who wants to know about Holocaust. This book is for people that really want to rebuild, to see that from the down in the ashes, whatever matzav you are, you have a chance to rebuild. You have to just invoke a little strength in you and it's going to happen. You know, you give it a little bit, it's going to do more. We see that miracles happen. They don't even know that miracles happen. But, you know, with the Torah, it happens. Everything. So it has a message, broader message than just the tight Hasidic in it. And that's why I made it in English, which could go more for women and even modern Orthodox, because I see the message resonated even with secular. I'm not trying to market this for the secular. I'm trying to market it for the Torah observant Jews, but a little bit out of the box of the Hasidic canon. That's I don't know if it's fair.
Okay, so I will link to it in the show notes. It's available widely, and you mentioned it's available on Amazon. So there's a hardcover, there's a paperback version on Amazon, a little cheaper as well. So you can, if those interested, I'll link to it. And thank you, Rabbi Amram, for joining me to
And
discuss
my,
book and your father.
my Yiddish cipher is the Misari. It's also on Amazon.
So I'll link to that as well. If anybody wants it in the original Yiddish, yeah, we can link to that as well.
Right.
Absolutely.
Right.
Okay.
This is thanks for having me as a guest. Thanks for inviting me, and it was a pleasure. And you know, as I mentioned before, it's the week of Tisha B'av, so we should ever be zoicha to for Mashiach. Not still this Tisha B'av should be a Yom Tov.